This afternoon, I took a drive down to the Philadelphia Navy Yard to have a good long look at this massive steel floating airport, the USS John F. Kennedy CV-67. This ship was decommissioned in 2007 and is currently sitting in the Navy Yard awaiting dismantling and scrapping. The USS John F. Kennedy served the United States Navy from 1968 until 2007, almost 40 years of distinguished service. While I had the chance, I took the time to walk around the yard to take a look at some of the other massive ships, humongous structures, and amazing machinery that made the United States Navy one of the most powerful fighting forces in the world. You know, when you come across a piece of machinery as massive as this in your daily drive, you can't do anything but stop and stare at it. Behold, CV-67, the United States Navy USS John F. Kennedy. This is a 1,050-foot-long aircraft carrier built in 1964. It is the last aircraft carrier built for the United States Navy that used conventional steam turbine power. 8 boilers at 1,200 psi pushed 4 steam turbines and 4 propeller shafts, producing over 280,000 shaft horsepower. That's the horsepower to the propeller shafts that then is given to the propeller to pull and push the ship through the water. Let's talk about weight. 82,655 tons loaded, 1,055 feet overall, 252 feet wide, 192 feet tall from the waterline to the top of its tower. Draws 36 feet of water. Now, what does it mean to draw water? Well, that's the amount of depth required for the bottom of the ship. So from here down is there's 36 feet more ship under the waterline. And the waterline, here's where you see that red line there for those of you that don't know. Now, this ship carried 80 plus aircraft and 5,000 people. That's the crew, the mechanics, the pilots. This is a floating airport, my friends. And it doesn't get any better than this, and it doesn't get any cooler than to be able to stand out here in the middle of Philadelphia's Navy Yard and freely take a look at this massive piece of machinery. So let's talk about Big John, as the JFK is called. This is a Kitty Hawk class aircraft carrier. The keel was laid on October 22nd, 1964. Now, the keel is the spine of the ship, essentially the big piece of metal that goes across, and the ribs are built up for the ship from there. Now, modern shipbuilding is all modular, so they don't lay keels the same way that they used to. It took 3 years to build the ship in Newport News Shipyard, Newport News, Virginia. And on 27 May 1967, Jackie Kennedy and 9-year-old then Caroline Kennedy christened the ship, 2 days shy of JFK's 50th birthday. How about that? 2 days shy, this ship was done. Started in 1964 and finished in 1967. And just think about what was going on in the world at that time. We had a conflict with the Soviet Union. It was the space war. We were building capsules and rockets to go to the moon. We were advancing in computer technology. We were advancing in aerospace design. The Concorde started to be built, the SR-71, the U-2 spy plane. This, the JFK. Can you believe it? Not nuclear powered, though. The last of its kind to come out of a shipyard for the United States Navy, not powered by a nuclear reactor. The original plan was for a nuclear reactor to power the JFK, but at the last minute, the Navy decided to keep it as a steam turbine engine. Okay, let's talk about some other things. Commissioned in 1968 and then decommissioned in 2007. In 2007, the ship was laid up in Virginia, and the plan was for a museum to take this over, just like the USS Midway in California or the USS Intrepid in New York City. This was scheduled to become a museum, had a museum come and said, we'll take the ship. Unfortunately, no museums came to take the ship, and now it sits here awaiting to be dismantled. That's right. This ship will be taken apart piece by piece, because look at all that steel. There is a lot of value in scrapping a ship like this and reusing the steel. And what will happen is a breaker yard will buy a ship like this and will break it to pieces and sell the scrap to be melted down into new steel. So that is the JFK here at Philadelphia's Navy Yard. Just a little bit of a short history on it and some short facts. I'm going to pick up the camera now and we're going to walk around the ship. I'm hoping that from this lens you can get an idea of just how massive it is, but really, unless you're standing here, you can't really fathom how humongous it is. And could you just imagine being on a ship like this, or being next to a ship like this while it was in action? And I'll tell you, I believe it was 2005, part of the JFK's farewell tour as it was getting ready to be retired, because this was the most expensive aircraft carrier for the Navy to maintain out of all of them. Now you got to remember, most of the other aircraft carriers in the 2000s were Nimitz class aircraft carriers, and the Nimitz class, and I'm not sure if any of you have watched the TV show Carrier, that's a Nimitz class aircraft carrier, nuclear powered, way more efficient, less maintenance. This was the most expensive aircraft carrier to maintain in the US Navy fleet. And in 2005, on its farewell tour, I boarded this aircraft carrier and toured it in 2005 at Fleet Week, New York. So I remember when I was in New York City during Fleet Week, it's one of my favorite things to do, to go and see these ships from all around the world. And it was my first time seeing a modern aircraft carrier, or at least as modern as could be. I had grown up in New York City, and so going to the Intrepid was an everyday thing, but the Intrepid was an old World War II era aircraft carrier. This was a modern supercarrier. Supercarrier meaning over 1,000 feet long, just humongous, just massive. And I remember being at the docks in New York City, at the piers where the cruise ship terminal is, and looking up and seeing the tower up there, and just not believing my eyes. I think we stood in a queue for 2 or 3 hours just to board her. And we got into the hangar and looked around, and man, it is massive. It is unbelievable that something this big can float. It's unbelievable that something this big can be built. It's unbelievable that something this big can be built and last as long as it has. It's a testament to human ingenuity, engineering, and that's just all there is to it. So let's pick up the camera and walk around here, huh? Okay, so if you'll notice, I'm going to zoom in here. Just over here where I'm pointing, a massive, what looks like a hole in the ship. And then there's another one just behind it. And there's what looks like a big platform. Now this platform here is an elevator. And those two holes down at the bottom right there that I'm pointing at, those are the entryways to the airplane hangars. So the aircraft are normally, when they're not under operation, are inside the belly of the ship. And the entire belly here is nothing more than a massive aircraft hangar. This is where the planes are maintained and stored when they're not being used. And when it's time for them to be in action, they're taken out of these hangars and they're lifted up on the elevator up to the flight deck, where they're then launched off the deck. Let's keep walking around. Just look at the prow of this thing. Isn't that just beautiful? Isn't it just a beautiful... We're just going to go through like this. I just want you to look at this. I hope that some of you who are watching this video take a trip to Philadelphia to the Navy Yard and come and see this before it is no more. It's really special. So let's just walk, and I want to show you what the Navy Yard is. This building here, which used to be part of the Navy's shipbuilding yard, is now Urban Outfitters Headquarters, or URBN. So what a privilege it must be for the people that work here to be able to come out here and see such an incredible ship. And just in the background is Philadelphia International Airport, and you'll hear some aircraft flying over now. Isn't it funny that this huge aircraft is sitting here waiting to die? And just around us are living, breathing aircraft. So here we're going to go around and take a look at the bow. I want you to see Now remember what I said. It's over 200 feet wide, the flight deck, and look at these lines. Who came up with these ideas, right? Could you imagine working and living on something like this? Being out at sea, being in heavy seas, in a storm? Because these ships were always at the ready. Aircraft carriers are always at the ready. They are a symbol of diplomacy and might to the United States. And the first thing the president wants to know when the U.S. is in trouble is, where are the aircraft carriers? They park them over near whichever country we're having a conflict with, and they sit there. And during 9/11, this ship was actually parked off the mid-Atlantic coast, protecting our American shorelines. It was one of her last tours of duty, the JFK, or his, because this is Big John, the tin can killer, the flying tin can killer. I hope that some people who have served on the USS JFK will chime in on my YouTube video. Maybe you can share some more facts on the ship. Love to hear some. I lost video service for a second, but we're going to resume right now. Sorry about that cutoff. We're back at the USS JFK CV-67. Now, there is a new JFK aircraft carrier that has been launched, and that is the Gerald R. Ford class CV-79. That is the predecessor to this is the predecessor to CV-79 JFK. And I just want you to appreciate and look around here. And like I was saying in my first segment of video, I'd really love for Navy or Air Force or whoever may have served on this ship or may have had a loved one serve on the JFK. If you can please add into this video some facts or stories of your experiences on CV-67, the JFK. Look at that, 252 feet wide. That's not its widest point at the bow. As you can see over on the sides, you have two catapults that would be located here at the top. Two steam catapults out this way, and then another steam catapult on this platform out this way. And isn't that just tremendous? 1,052 feet long. Can you believe it? Can you imagine what kind of power, what kind of fuel? So you've got 8 boilers that were pushing 4 steam turbines. Could you imagine the fuel consumption on something like this? I can't even believe it. Let's walk around over here. This is part of the Navy Yard, and I believe this is one of the boiler works rooms. We've got some other interesting things here at the Navy Yard. There's still a lot of relics from when this was an active naval yard. And of course, it's not anymore. It's defunct, and it's been used as an office park and many other things. But you can see, look down here, all of the old railways for cranes and other machinery to go out to the piers to load up the ships. Could you imagine? I can't even imagine what it was like here back during the heyday of the United States Navy during World War II, during the Cold War. So we're just gonna flip around here so you can take a look at the JFK, Big John, from a different angle. And here we go. There she is. Look at that, huh? What a big, humongous thing. It's hard to believe that eventually this ship is going to be no more, that they're going to dismantle it. And just look over here. We've got a looks like a bulk carrier just passing through the Delaware River here, probably heading out to the ocean again. Look at that. This view is fantastic, isn't it? Wagenborg. This is the Amazon, looks like. And up above, we've got aircraft flying from Philadelphia International Airport. How cool is that? And this is open to the public out here, the Navy Yard. You can come up here and walk around and take a visit and see. There's no tours, there's no plaques that signify anything, but you can see some of the old, a lot of old structures here. Here is, I'm not quite sure what this is. It looks like some type of missile launcher. these big tubes at the top of this trailer. I'm not sure, and it looks like, yeah, I don't think I'm wrong, a cannon of some sorts. Because look, you've got this huge hydraulic piston in here. There's a big hydraulic piston and pivot points back here for this thing to stand up on its end. So I'm going to assume that this is some type of missile launcher. It's big. Anyone watching this video, if you can tell me what this trailer is, I'd really appreciate it, and I'm sure the rest of my viewers would really appreciate it. That's pretty cool, huh? Look at those big old tires just sitting here. I'm sure I can find a registration plate for it. Look at these big old doors here to crane up things into what looks like another workshop. And we're just going to walk over here, taking a look back at the JFK Big John for a minute. And then we're just going to walk over here along the water, see what we can find. You know, there's a lot of buildings I'm sure I could get into here, and eventually maybe I'll try to in earnest and share a video with you, because you know, one day this stuff won't exist and we won't know what was down here. This will all get knocked down, and this is great pieces of American industrial history. Look at these rails here, how wide apart they are. Now, these rails, I'm going to assume, belong to a crane that's over here. And there's a barge over here. I'm going to see if I can jump onto this barge. It's a big old bumper here. And it looks like it's chained pretty good. So what do you say? You think I should? I think I will. Let's see. Let's see if I got a good grip to get across this. Looks it. What do you think? No guts, no glory? That's how I feel. It's gonna rotate. I don't think it's gonna rotate. Oh man, I don't like this one bit. It's making me feel a little jittery. Alright, whatever. Well, if I get onto this barge, I'll have a better view of the ship. So, let's do it. Fuck it. Oh man, if I get in trouble, I get in trouble. I don't see any sign that says, don't trespass. Give me a second here. Get onto this barge. Just something weird just made a noise. Okay, we're on the barge. Jesus. Sometimes I get scared, you know, for good reason. So there it is. Look at that. This is a dry dock over here. And where we are is the Navy Yard. And look at this massive door. That massive door opens for a ship to come in, and then we're going to go and take a look at the belly of that. We've got tugboats over here. We've got barges of every kind, and there she is, the JFK. Look at how massive that is. We're on a barge that's probably 200-300 feet long, and that's over 1,050 feet long. Okay, so let's walk over this gangway and see what we can see over here. Hoping nothing breaks and that I don't fall in and get killed. Oh God. But you know what? If you don't do this kind of stuff, you miss out on seeing amazing things in this world. Here we are. So this door here is known as a caisson, and it floats. But look, this is a dry dock here. Now this is what a ship goes in when they'll flood this entire area. So they flood this whole thing down here, and we're probably looking at 50, 60 feet deep down here, 60, 70 feet, who knows. And what happens down here is this whole thing is flooded, and they have a series of valves that they open up for water to flood into this, and then a ship, this caisson, is then moved. A ship comes into here, and then they drain it out, and then they can work on the ship. And these big, huge blocks that you see down here, these are what the ship rests on. So they have to figure out the dimensions of the ship and how the keel is laid out and all of those things, I'm sure using engineering drawings and mathematics, to find out where the center of the weight of the ship is and how she's going to rest. And so they do it on these blocks, and it looks like these blocks are already set up for a ship. Over here we have a large crane. You can see this is a gantry crane, and this is what's used to pull in and pull out heavy equipment from the ship. Wow, I've got a lot of adrenaline right now after going on that barge. So we're gonna walk around here. This is actually a place I'm not supposed to be. But look here, remember how I was showing you those wide rails? These wide rails are what allow these huge cranes to move back and forth along this dry dock here. And it looks like this crane isn't moving anymore because the rails are covered up over here. So I'm not even sure if these are used anymore, but gosh, they look ancient, don't they? Let's keep going through here and taking a look around, seeing what we can see. You know, it's worth it sometimes to just take a risk and come around and see what you're working with, right? Philadelphia is a relatively peaceful city, and you know, if somebody yells at me for being here, I'll be truthful with them, tell them why I'm here. I'm not really sure if this dry dock has been used in a while. There's a steel cable going across, and well, I'm sure it has been. But look at those blocks, how they set that up. It's really, really incredible. Look at the walkway to get down. See that there? And so you see along the side of the dry dock, the ridges, that's where they used to use poles to prop up a ship. I'm not sure if they still do. Big wooden poles. Stuff like this. You see this wood over here? They might use wood like that and prop the ship up that way to keep it upright while sitting on these massive blocks. Imagine the busyness in this shipyard during the heyday of the Navy Yard. Look at that big old crane on these rails. Thanks for watching my video, folks. I hope to share some more history, machinery, cooking, and other adventures with you. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube video if you enjoyed this, and please add any comments below.